Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Now I would like to present the material of translation. And I would like to start with the definition of translation from several experts. The first one from Roman Jacobson, 1959. He said that translation proper is the interpretation of verbal sign by means of some other languages from the books on translation. And the second is from Naida and Tabor 1969. They say that translating consists of reproducing the receptor language, the closest natural equivalent of the third language meaning or message. And the first in terms of meaning and the second in terms of style in the books, the theory and practice of translation. The third is from Peter Newmark, 1988. He said that translation is a process of rendering the meanings of the text into another language in the way of the author intends the text from the book, a textbook of translation. 4 from Mona Baker, 1992. She said that translation is a process of mediating the meaning across linguistic and cultural boundaries in the books, in other words, a course book on translation. Next, from Jeremy Monday, 2016, he said that translation is a process of transferring a written text from source language into target language, conducted by human translator or with help with a machine or tool. From the book Introducing Translator Studies or Theories and Application. Next, from Mark Shuttleworth and Moira Cowie. They say that translation is defined as a process whereby a message expressed in one language is re-expressed in another language in the book Dictionary of Language Studies. So we can conclude that translation is a process transferring the meaning or message from the source language into a target language. Next, the second material is about translation process. The first is from Naida and Tabor. They said that the translation process is divided into 3 steps. The first one is analysis. So first, we read and understanding the original text. The second is transfer. We mentally convert the meaning into our own language. So we not spoke the meaning from the sentence, but we just thinking the meaning into our brain. And the last is reconstructing. So we rewrite the meaning of the sentence into Indonesian language or into another target language using a natural. So the sentence is easy to read. Now I would like to explain the example. The first one is we analyze the original sentence. For example, the original sentence is he catch a bucket. Literally, it means seseorang menendang ember. But in English, is an idiom that has meaning he passed away. So the second we transfer or we mentally convert the meaning into our language, but it's just in our brain. For example, we think, oh, it means that someone died, and plus we reconstructing. So we rewrite the meaning into the target language. For example, he catch a bucket. Finally, translation in Indonesian language is seseorang telah meninggal dunia or he has passed away. Next, from Roman Jacobson, and he also divide the process of translation into 3 types. The first one is intralingual or within one language. For example, the word lelah, it means that feeling very tired. So we can say that intralingual is rewarding within the same language. The second is interlingual or between languages. For example, the sentence I am hungry we translated into saya lapar. So this is the usual form of translation. The third is intersemiotic or between a system of sign. For example, the poem of rain is translated into a painting of rain. So this is change from the word into image or music. Next, from Jeremy Monday. Jeremy Monday is divided the translation process into two steps. The first one is decoding, or we read and understanding. For example, the sentence, the early bird catches the worm. So after we read, we can understand that this sentence have real meaning, that people who act early or quickly will benefit. The second is encoding or rewriting. For example, we have Indonesian sentence like siapa cepat dia dapat. So we translate into English, wherever is quick is get it, or wherever is quick get it. It's not word by word translation, but the meaning and function stay the same. Next, from Vinay and Delbert, they divide the process of translation into 5 steps. The first one is identify the unit of translation. For example, the sentence, he gave me a hand. So from this sentence, we break it into a parts. He gave me a hand. And the second is analyze the original sentence. So the sentence, he gave me a hand, it means that to help, not literally giving a hand. Third is understanding the cultural context. In English, the sentence, give me a hand, it means that to help someone. 4. Match the style of language. So the sentence, give me a hand, is casual. So don't translate it into something too formal. And last is write and revise. So the correct translation is dia membantuku. He helped me, not he gave me his hand, or dia memberikan tangannya untukku. Next, from Prof. Nababan, and it near same with Naida and Taber. So the first is analyze the short language. So we look the context, grammar, style, or structure, and we try to get translated or translation sentence by sentence. The second is transfer the meaning. So we mentally transferring the short language into the target language. The last is reconstructing the message into the target language with appropriate structure and naturalness. So we are following the structure of target language. But not all words from the short language can be translated into the target language, because some words carry unique cultural or have no equivalence. In such case, the translator can use the foreignization strategy, which involves the original words to preserve its cultural nuances. For example, we have a sentence in Indonesia, mereka mengadakan selamatan untuk bayi mereka, and we translate into English language, they held a selamatan for their baby. So the word of selamatan not we translate because it have unique cultural meaning. Another example is he celebrate Halloween. If we translate it into Indonesia, dia merayakan Halloween. So the sentence of Halloween we are not translated into Indonesian language because it carry a unique cultural meaning from the English language. Okay, next material is about language function, and the first one is from Roman Jacobson. He divided the language function into 6 types. The first one is referential, or to give information. For example, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. The second is emotive, or to express feeling. For example, I'm happy, I'm sad. The third is connotative, or to influence other. For example, open the door please, or close the door please, open the window please. And next is patic. Is used to start or maintain the interaction. For example, hello, hi, okay, yes. And next is metalingual, or to expand the language. For example, what does the integrity means? What does the interaction means? And the last is poetic, or to show the form of language. For example, the sky is crying tonight. The second is from Delhims. He say that the language function is about speaking model. So, in this model, we analyze the language used by looking the participant, the purpose of the interaction, and communication carry, and other social elements like settings and genre. Next, from Jeffrey Leach, he also divided the language function into 6 types. The first one is informative. For example, the TOEFL test is tomorrow. The second one is expressive, or to show feeling. For example, I'm happy, I'm so tired. And the third one is directive, or to give instruction. For example, open the door please, open the window please. Next is aesthetic, for artistic effect. For example, you are the light of morning. And next is patic, or to maintain connection. For example, yeah, go on. And the last is metalingual, or to explain the terms. For example, it means to be grateful. Next, from Michael Holiday, he also divided the language function into 3 types, or we also know as SFL, or systematic language function. The first one is ideational, or to deliver idea or event. For example, he has lunch at cafeteria. The second one is interpersonal, or to express the attitude or relation. For example, may I sit here? And the last is textual, or to explain the information clearly. For example, first, let's define the term. The last from David Crystal, he stated the function of language in modern life. So, modern usage, adaptation of technology chat, for example, using emoji with tools in our mobile phone or laptop. Okay, next material is about a unit of translation and discourse. The first one is a unit of translation. A unit of translation is a part of text that is translated. It can be word, sentence, phrase, or a larger part like paragraph or entire text is depending on the context. And Eugene Nida say that the unit of translation is not just about the word or sentence, but it can be a larger meaning necessary to convey the message as a whole. And Peter Newmark also say that the unit of translation is carried depending on the purpose of translation and the types of text. Next is about discourse. Discourse refers to overall context of the text, including the relationship between sentence and part of the text. Mona Becker said that a unit of translation could range from a word to a whole, is depending on the nature of context and the purpose of translation. And Laurent Venuti stated that the translator must consider the cultural of the discourse, so the translation doesn't lose the original nuance of the short text. Next material is about translation ideology. Translation ideology refers to the belief or attitude held by translator regarding how the text should be translated. So it can influence the choice by word, language style, and the degree faithfulness of the source text. And translation ideology play a crucial role. The first one is determine what to translate, how to translate it, and who translation is for. Translation ideology is divided into two types. The first one is domestication. Domestication is strategy of translating to make sound natural and familiar to the target language readers. So the characteristic is adapt the culture of the target language using familiar words and removing the foreign elements. For example, the sentence dia makan makanan Jepang seperti sup dan nasi gulung. If we translate, he ate the Japanese foods like soups and rice rolls. So we use the rice rolls to say nasi gulung. So it use a familiar word. Second is foreignization. Foreignization is preserve as much to the short language and culture as possible, so the reader realize that the text is come from the foreign culture. And characteristic is retain the original names, terms, or cultural expression and feels foreign to the target reader and maintain the author's original style and voice. For example, short language, he ate sushi and miso soup. So the foreignization is dia makan sushi dan miso soup. So the word sushi is foreignization because we use the original word from the source language. Okay, the last material is about translation method. Peter Newmark, in his book A Textbook of Translation, tells the 8 method of translation illustrated in V-shape diagram. In the left side, we have short language, focus on the faithfulness to the original text, and the right side, we have target language, focus on adjusting to the reader's language and culture. Okay, now I would like to explain one by one. From the left side is about focus on short language. The first one is word by word translation. It's translated each word literally without considering the structure of sentence and or idiomatic meaning. It's mostly used in dictionary or language learning. For example, the short language, I have a cat. If we translate it into target language, saya punya seekor kucing, is right. But if the sentence from the short language, he kicked the bucket, if we translate it, dia menendang ember. So it's wrong because this sentence have idiomatic meaning. The second is literal translation. So retains the structure sentence but translate words based on their primary meaning. So this still very close to the short text. For example, the short sentence, he likes music. So the target language, dia menyukai musik. Next is faithful translation. So tries to be faithful both of meaning and form of the short text, including idioms and tone, but still understandable. For example, the short language is he is a bookworm. So the target language is dia adalah kutu buku. Next is semantic translation. It's similar with the faithful translation, but more flexible to make the text smoother and natural. For example, the short language, he passed away peacefully. So the target language is dia meninggal dengan tenang. Next is adaptation. So the text is completely transformed to fit the target culture. It usually used in drama, ads, literature, and else. For example, the short language. A movie script refers to Thanksgiving, but in target language, we adapt to Lebaran to better connect to local culture. Next is free translation. So it focuses on meaning and message, not on the structure or word from the short text. So it can be very loose from the original text. For example, the short language, she broke down in tears. So if we translate it into the target language, dia tidak bisa menahan tangis. Next is idiomatic translation. So we use the natural expression in the target language, even if not literally equivalent. For example, the short language, it's raining cats and dogs. If in the target language, we translate to hujan deras sekali. The last is communicative translation. It's aimed to make the message clear, natural, and cultural appropriate to the target audience. For example, the short language, please don't lean on the door. So, if we translate into the target language, jangan bersandar pada pintu.